So we have covered domain and range in a previous video, so please feel free to look back at those because I don't have the time necessarily to go over it in this video. Domain in quadratics, okay, to make this easy for you, is always going to be your x values. So it's your x values. And in quadratics, it's always going to be real numbers, all real numbers. Everything in the x-axis is going to be the domain in quadratics. It's always going to be this answer. For your range, you're looking up and down, so it's your y values. So just go from the bottom, where does it graph start, to the top. Where does it end? Okay, that's your range. All right, your vertex, we've covered this before. Okay, your vertex is talking about whether on an N or a U, this point right here. So it's either your minimum, your vertex is asking you for your minimum. Oh, sorry, that's maximum. Your vertex is asking you for your maximum or your minimum. That's what vertex means, okay? And you need to have your vertex in terms of x and then y. Okay, and we've covered that in a previous video as well. Now your axis of symmetry is the one new thing that you're gonna have here. It's built on your vertex. What you do is you take your vertex. This is a listening check, color in A or S. You take your coordinates for your vertex, x and then y, and your axis of symmetry is where your x value is. So your axis of symmetry is this, and all you write is x equals that number. And that's your axis of symmetry. In a graph, what that looks like is if you have a quadratic, your vertex is right here. It is where it splits the graph in half. So it's called the axis of symmetry because this side looks at this side. Okay. It always happens at the x value of your vertex, and you write x equals whatever this number is. All right, we've gone over your x-intercept, but again, I am going to go ahead and remind you. In quadratics, they can say x-intercepts or they can say zeros. So they can ask you, what are your zeros? Or you can say roots. So they can ask you, what are your roots? Or they can ask you solutions. Okay. Now, it is simply where it crosses the x-axis. Okay, so your x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. In quadratics, that can be 1 or 2 or 0. 0, 1, or 2. Okay. Your y-intercept, you know this from before, it's where it crosses the y-intercept, y-axis. Okay, where it crosses the y-axis. So if I had, for example, this is my y-intercept, where it crosses this y-axis. All right, increasing. All right, if you had, so I'm going to do increasing and decreasing like on the same. So increasing is like this, it's going up. All right, from left to right, it's going up. Decreasing, it's going down. Okay, so from left to right, increasing, and you always read from left to right. This is a listening check, color in the word increasing. From left to right, up, and decreasing from left to right, down. Okay. So another example would be if it was decreasing, would be this. So that is decreasing. Another example, if it's increasing, is this. Okay, so basically from left to right, are we going up? Or from left to right, are we going down? So that's increasing or decreasing. Your average rate of change, actually you've seen this before, is really another word for saying your slope. So it's your change in y over your change in x over an interval. This is a listening check, color in the 2 triangles. So you're going to be given 2 values. Let's call this A and B. And you'll notice that it has a closed parentheses and they're both the x values. And we'll go over how how to calculate that. All right, end behavior is what is happening to your graph as x approaches infinity. So that's what this is saying. So this means as x approaches infinity. So as x approaches infinity, as x is going this way, what's your graph doing? This one means as x approaches negative infinity. As x approaches infinity, or as it approaches negative infinity, what is happening to the graph? Pause the video and copy down what I've written on positive and negative. This is a listening check. Color in positive. All right, so when you're dealing with positive and negative, above the x-axis is positive, below the x-axis is negative. What you want to notice is this. Where is this positive? So above the x-axis, all right, that is positive. So it's positive right here. And what do you notice about the shaded part? It's together. Okay, what about here? So above, I'm looking for positive above the x-axis, so I pause this down. So this is separate from this one. So we have together questions and we have separate. So when you see it together, all right, all that means is that you put it inside together. You're not going to have separate pieces. You're going to have it together. And it's in between what two numbers? From least to greatest, from -4 to -2. That's how you deal with it. So together means it's together. On this one, you can see it's separate, right? Because this is not, it cuts off over here and then comes back, right? So if it's separate, you need two answers, all right? So you need the one that's on the left. So if I put a ruler right here, you'll see it's shaded on the left-hand side, right? So what does the left arrow look like? It goes to this side. That's an arrow, right? So left of what number? Of 0. So x is left of 0. And then here, if I put a ruler right there, you can see it's shaded on which side? On the right-hand side of what number? Of 2. So x is to the right of 2 because this is to the right. So if you see it separate, it's two answers. Okay, one is going to be to the left and the other is going to be to the right. However, if you had a -1, it could be vice versa. So again, just know that it's two separate, then go and see what part of it is shaded and what part of it is not. All right, looking at a negative, below the x-axis, that's what that means. So let's take a look at what's below. So we have separate here, right, because they're not joined. And here, below the x-axis, we have joined. So this one is separate. What does separate mean? I should have two answers, right? And this one right here is together. So one answer. Together, one answer is the easiest one. You put an x, less than, and it's between what two numbers? From least to greatest, -2 and 3. The separate one, you have to look at where did you just shade. So if I put my ruler right here, I shaded to the left. So to the left of 2. So to the left of 2. And then over here, if I put my ruler here, I shaded to the right of 4. So to the right of 4. Okay, so when you're writing your separate ones, you want to see where did you shade. If you're writing your together one, it's from least to greatest. So that's how you deal with positive and negative. All right, so let's...